Hello. Happy Monday. How are we doing today?
Oh, we're doing all good. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're live here on Instagram. So if you're joining us on Insta, come and say hi. And we're live also on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. So great to be with you today.
Yeah, I'm hoping that sounds all good. Everyone can hear me, I'm hoping.
Sound is all good. Sounds good to me. Sounds good.
Good start to a Monday then. Good start to a Monday.
Absolutely. Great. Okay. So if you haven't joined us before, if you haven't been with us before, we are the Coaching Catalysts. We work with female professionals and entrepreneurs to help you prioritize your mindset and your well-being so that you can thrive in all areas. My name's Sarah Bramall. I'm a transformation coach, NLP and DISC practitioner, coach trainer, and coach supervisor in training. And Rebecca, it's always hard going second, isn't it? Because we're basically the same person.
Literally, yeah. So today we are here doing our usual weekly live that we do. And today's live is all about not being able to teach an old dog new tricks. Or can we?
Or can we? Because it's a phrase, isn't it, that we tell ourselves and that we have in our culture, like, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That our brains kind of deteriorate with age, that we can't learn new things, that we can't make a change as we get older. I hear this all the time. I don't know if you do as well, Rebecca. I hear it all the time in coaching, like, oh, it might be too late.
Oh, there's loads of objections. I was just about to say that one, right? Like, I'm too old, or I'm not an expert yet, or I don't have as much experience as X, Y, and Z, so that's not possible for me. Like, they're the same things that come up over and over again. And don't get me wrong, I probably used to say those things too.
Yeah, me too. What sorts of things did you used to say to yourself?
So funnily enough, the opposite of like I'm too old, but I used to go, oh, I'm too young, right? So my first business was at like 21 and I hid it. I don't think I've ever told you this.
I don't think you have. I love this. We always learn new things on the live. What was your first business?
So I started my tuition company. It was an in-person one at the age of 21. And I had just qualified as a teacher. And so that was one of my things. Like, I'm too young and I have just qualified. Like, who's going to think that I am good enough and expert enough to run this tuition company? And I also had another one that who's going to think that I could run a business and work full time at the same time? So I didn't tell any of my colleagues. None of them knew that Wednesdays and Thursdays after school finished, I went to the hall that I had hired with the tutors that I had also hired. Like, I was hiring people at the age of 21.
Wow.
Distributing leaflets in the local schools and the book bags and the newsletters. And then that business grew to Saturdays. So I do Saturday morning, 9 till 10. And it went to 9 till 11, till 12, till 1. And I was in the hall from 9 till 3 every Saturday. And that was my thing. Like, who's going to believe that I can do this? And who's going to think that I can still cope, So I used to say to myself, I'm too young. I'm not experienced enough. Like, I don't know much about business. Little did I know that, like, fast forward, 15 years? Like, little did I know that it would be those skills that I'd be using today.
Amazing. I didn't know that story. That's so interesting. And it's so true, isn't it? We tell ourselves that story. I did as well for such a long time. Like, oh, I'm too young. I'm too young. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and go, oh, I'm too old. I'm too old. And
I'm
you're like,
too
God,
old.
that window of when things are okay to get stuff done. It's like really narrow.
Yeah.
So,
It's so funny.
yeah, oh, that's so funny. Maria Therese, how are you? Thanks for joining us today. Let us know if you've ever been here. We're talking about this idea that you can't teach an old dog new tricks and how we tell ourselves these stories, right? Either I'm too young or I'm too old. I can't do anything different. I can't learn anything new. And I did the same, Rebecca. So when I was making that transition out of teaching and into coaching, I was like, oh, like all I've ever known is being in a classroom with children, and that's all I know how to do. And so it's not going to be possible for me to make a career change, to coach actual adults, or to do anything different, let alone start a business. I had so many limiting beliefs around starting a business. I'm not a businesswoman. I know nothing about business, all of that stuff as well. Real resistance to change, actually, real resistance to doing something new. Hey, we've got the aroma specialists here as well. Great to have you with us today.
I've just realised I'm using a very old profile of mine.
I did wonder when you popped up. I was like, "Oh, hello, Jigsaw Company. Who are you?" But you know,
previous business and all that. That account needs to get closed down. But
we're here.
If only we knew then what we know now. We say that all the time, right? So we know that our brains are constantly evolving and developing. And the great part of that is, and something that really made it like an aha moment for me years ago, was that they keep growing, keep evolving, keep developing until the day we pass.
Right.
Like incredible.
Incredible. And Maria Therese, you're resonating with what we're saying. You're saying you're in the same situation. Yeah, and it's a tough one because your mind really gives you a hard time, doesn't it? So, you know, so what we're saying is Rebecca and I both like totally resonate and actually still are working on that stuff. So still stuff comes up and I go, oh, you know, I don't think I can do this. And when I catch myself saying, I don't think I can do this, I have to stop myself and go, do you know what? When I apply efforts and when I focus, I can figure it out. And I have to really work on that growth mindset to get myself through that block of like, I don't know what I'm doing. Yes. Oh, Maria Therese, you're working in teaching and you're wanting to move out of coaching. Yes, we have both done this.
That's exciting.
And yes, it is possible. It's really exciting. But it feels like a really, really big leap when you're there, doesn't it? Because even for me, like I was like, oh, it was almost like teaching wasn't like the real world for me. I was like, I just get to do what I do in my classroom and nobody really ever sees what I do. And so like it's imposter syndrome as well. They're clearly going to find out. People are clearly going to find out. I have no idea what I'm talking about. And who do I think I am? Yeah.
But we both spent time, didn't we? Like looking around in the world of online when we were like thinking about leaving. Like, is it possible? Okay, who else has done it? Like if X, Y, and Z has done it, then it's possible for me to do it too. Right. And what I used to do was go, right, X, Y, and Z has done it. And they've got 3 kids and working full time. Like I used to really delve into like, well, they've done it and their circumstances are a bit different to mine. And I used to be really fortunate that like, you know, I only had 1 child at that time and I was working part-time after maternity. So I'm like, if they can do it and they've got 3 kids and they're working full time, I can do it because I've only got 1 child and I'm working part-time. Like I always used to look at how I could switch their success and I guess like replicate it, but in my own way.
Exactly. And I think that's so important. It's so important, as my kids kind of laugh at me, right, because I'm always talking about who my role models are, but it's so important as adults to have role models or to have examples of people who've done what you want to do or who are where you want to be, because it's all about that evidence that it is possible. So important. Eleni, I see that you've joined as well, so welcome. Me and my little lady, lovely Eleni, is here with us. That's Kiki's sister, Rebecca.
Oh, right. Nice to virtually meet you. It's always weird online, isn't it? You never know who's watching, but nice to meet you.
Okay, so what do we do with this then, right? So I guess the first step is exactly what we've talked about. I phrased them. The first step is exactly what we've just talked about, which is to realize, to acknowledge that these limiting beliefs come up for us because our brain wants to keep us safe. And so that looks like it doesn't want us to change. It wants to resist change because familiarity feels like the comfort zone. It feels like we're safe there. So first thing is to recognize that. Second thing is to look for evidence that it is possible. And as you quite rightly said, that evidence often comes in the form of other people who've done what I want to do or done something similar. And it tells me that if they can do it, I can do it too.
I can too.
Okay, and then what's the next step? How do we go about kind of rewiring our brains or like getting over that barrier of you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
So a big one for me is the doing.
Right.
So in order for us to go, right, I can potentially learn a new skill, because there's always this doubt. And the doubt is eliminated when you do. Because when you do, you can then actually see that it's become reality, and then you can repeat and repeat. Now, what happens when we do is sometimes, let's be realistic, it doesn't always go according to plan.
Okay.
Sometimes, there might be a bump in the road, and that could be a potential setback for people. This is where that growth mindset and that resilience comes in. This is when we start to stretch that muscle. So when we do, we see what happens. And we celebrate that, first of all. We celebrate and acknowledge that we've done something. We've taken a step in whatever direction it is. Then we assess it. Again, see if it worked, hasn't worked, how we feel about it. And then we do again. We might do it in the same way. We might tweak it a bit. So take, for example, teaching, right? So we were both teachers, and we left the classroom. But before we did that, we started to up level our skills. We did research. We spoke to loved ones. We joined communities and networks. We did a lot of things before the actual big action. And that's also something that's really important to remind you, that there are many, many steps before you get to that big step. And so it's about outlining those first. So we did it, didn't we?
We did do it. And actually, when you're saying that, you're taking me back, because I was like, do you know what? The first place I started coaching was in school, like with kids. And then when I got a bit more confident, then with members of staff. And then when I got even more confident, then like with parents. But I did it in that safe space where I knew it was okay to try new things, because I had evidence that was okay, because in teaching it is okay to try new things. And then when I had built the confidence and again, like built the evidence that it was, that it was useful for people, then that gave me the confidence to go outside of school and start to kind of spread my wings like that. So you're right, it's about the doing. And that's it. It's one thing I always kind of, again, repeat to myself, is that action breeds confidence. Because when we stay stuck, or when we don't take action, it erodes our confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Action breeds confidence. But you're absolutely right, and you're brilliant at this in terms of mindset, is knowing that sometimes that action is successful and we can celebrate that, but sometimes it's not, and that is okay. And that's what you're really good at, Rebecca, like knowing it's okay to fail because there's learning in it. And that's where the growth mindset really comes in.
And I think, Karen, my ex-colleague's on. I think people can mistake that. Someone said to me, "Oh, you're very negative. You're very pessimistic." This was years ago,
Right.
and I was like, "I am actually the complete opposite." Like, because I always look for, and it sounds really silly, but what potentially could go wrong, and there's a reason why I do that. Because I look at what could go wrong, so that I can then put steps in place to either prevent that from happening, or prepare myself, like my heart, my soul, my mindset, so that I can then again put something in place for it to go right. So I'm okay. I'm okay with failure, right? Because I never see it as that. Because I'm always looking at, right, if this doesn't work, if this doesn't happen, if this doesn't produce the results that I want, what could I then do next? And then I'm ready. Like I'm ready for that next thing to keep going in order to reach that goal.
No, you're brilliant.
Go on.
I was going to say, you're a brilliant role model for me and for all of us. Your attitude to failure is like rock solid, absolutely brilliant. And Maria Therese, I see that you have you've asked us a question, and yes, of course, it's okay to ask questions. We love a question.
100%.
So did you both have your business before you left teaching? We did things slightly differently. So I'll tell you how I did it, and then Rebecca can share how she did it. So I had been teaching for So I did 18 years in total, so kind of maybe 15, 16 years before I started training as a coach. And I got my qualification, I set up my business, and then I was coaching part-time and teaching part-time. And for me, that felt right, because it gave me the security to, again, build the evidence that I knew that I had a business before I took that leap and left the security of teaching altogether. Rebecca has clearly got her brave girl pants on and did it a bit differently. So I'll let you share what you did.
I did it completely differently. Sarah and I were talking the other day, because she was like, when did you actually qualify? And I'm like, like literally the last decade have like literally just gone completely past me. So my school actually introduced coaching a while back.
Right.
And now I look at it and I'm like, oh, right. Now I really, truly know what like coaching is. But we had a taste for it. So we engaged in like triads and did peer-to-peer coaching. And then we implemented it with the students. And I was a bit scared because I was like, oh, can I really go into like a new career, so to speak? So I started my education business. I started a business that was safe for me. I loved educating, don't get me wrong, and I enjoyed it, but I started a business that I 100% had the confidence to know that I could fulfill that. And so when I was then continuing to think about my exit out of the classroom, I was running that business part-time alongside being on maternity leave. Crazy, who does that? And then when I took the leap was, I'm going to do this, but I know that I couldn't do that with the capacity that I had. So I had a business part-time, I was teaching part-time, and I had a newborn, and I was caring for my dad, right? That came out of nowhere. I left. I literally jumped ship, and it was scary, but I knew I had a plan. So I supply taught for a bit, did a bit of contract work, and then engaged in my coach training. And then I guess the rest is history. Right now, I started my coaching business alongside that. Did that for a year and a bit, actually probably about 2 years. Then went into business with Sarah, merged our businesses together. I've closed down my education business June this year after my son was born, my second child. And now this is where we're at. And we're training to be coaching supervisors, and we're coach trainers for leading organizations. And this is the exciting story that we have to tell you, is that we did in different ways, and there's no one way to doing it.
Like, exactly that.
I would never recommend somebody to do what I did unless you were really rock solid in your plan and all up here. Like, I had people, and I've just put a post out, so go and check it out on the Catalyst Instagram or Facebook, about like the bystanders, that people would give me looks. Like, even my parents would look at me and go, you are what? Like, you've handed in your notice? Like, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to feed your child? Like, I'm like, it's okay. I've got this. It's okay. Exciting.
Yeah. Really, really exciting. So, conscious of time, 18 minutes. We try and keep these like below 20 minutes, meant to be 15, but often it's 20, but there we are.
Like to chat.
We like to chat. So anyway, Maria-Therese, I hope that answers your questions, but do feel free to DM us, and we're happy to carry on the conversation over in the DMs. Okay, so what's coming up? Oh my goodness, it's tomorrow, isn't it? Tomorrow. Tomorrow we're running a free masterclass all about how to make a change. And what we are going to be doing actually in that masterclass, you're welcome, is sharing that story of how we made a change. So how we made a change, sharing our own personal stories about how we did it. So that might be of interest to you actually, Maria-Therese. You're very welcome to come and register and join us for that. And we're going to be talking to you about the kind of the psychology behind making a change, because obviously this is the work that we do with our clients all of the time. So making a change from one career to the other, or from one role to the other, or from one business to the other. It's all about that process of change. So we're going to be sharing that, and how you really build your mindset to do that, how you build the confidence to do that, and then of course getting you to commit to taking action. So if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn or YouTube, the Link is at the bottom of the screen there. It's at 4 o'clock tomorrow, 4 till 5:30, bit.ly/the Change Masterclass. If you're with us on Insta, go to the link in our bio and you will find it there on our link tree. Okay, and if you can't make it live tomorrow at 4 o'clock, that's absolutely fine. Just register and we will send you the replay. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. I can't wait. We've got like 120 people signed up in total since October till now. So we're excited to be with you guys. And as Sarah has said, the link is in the Catalyst bio and not the Jigsaw bio. Ignore that one.
Yes, yeah. Catalyst bio.
Catalyst
Go and check
bio.
out our link tree there. All right. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Wishing you a wonderful Monday and hope to see you on the masterclass tomorrow afternoon. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.